I have dealt with some manipulators in my life, dude. And one of the funniest things is trying to get them to just admit when they're manipulating.
Yeah.
They won't do it. They can't. They're incapable of saying, I did the thing. Like, well, this happened. That's why a partnership is important. That's why you will never convince me that anything other than a monogamous heterosexual relationship is the ultimate best environment for children statistically and practically. I also don't think you should give kids cocaine, for example.
Hypocrisy.
Hello, my fellow rats. Welcome back to the stream. I'm sorry, I've just been giggling about that. I know it's not really related to Rekieta. I tried to fit it in somehow, though. But I hope you are having a good day as we get into the first part. It looks like we have about half of the documents for this admit/deny trial with the CPS, County Health Service people, whatever you want to call them, I guess whatever they're called. You may have seen this a little bit on Sean's stream. Now, this, I guess we have to go back a little bit. There's a bit of a little backstory. So let me see. I have to unmute my audio, don't I? So it all started on this day.
It's Saturday, man. It's a good day. It's beautiful here in Minnesota. It's fucking hot.
Oh, wait. I've got to see the cope sip.
Hence my...
Alyssa edited out the cope sip. Well, go like this on Alyssa's channel if you have not seen it. So it was Saturday, not a typical day for Nick to stream, and not a typical day where you can access court records. So in theory, it should be totally safe to stream without the penalty of Minnesota Public Records from shutting you down with their sneaky, illegal documents. Well, we don't know if they're illegal. I guess they're not really technically illegal. But as it turns out, a suspicion of mine was confirmed. And the documents came out, which really actually shows that there's a big pile of documents they already have, and they're just waiting for Nick to go live. And when he does, they drop something else, something juicy. Unfortunately, it looks like this is the first half, but we're going to go through it. But we're going to start first with this clip called "It's Saturday, Man. Your leaps in logic, little visitors, schedule, not releasing stuff." Of course, from Alyssa's channel. So let's we'll go through this on 1.25 speed. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the shower calls. That there's a bit of a major shower call, actually, allegedly. And I guess then we'll get into the document. And it might be a long one. It's a pretty big document, but we'll see how long it takes us to get through it. There is thunderstorms happening at my house right now. So if the internet goes out, I should be right back.
Face being red like the men whose land we stole or something. No, I was outside a lot earlier today. Had some little visitors. And let me just announce up front, I have a hard out at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I got to go because, again, got some small friends coming over to the house.
So I was a little bit confused when I heard this. It sounded like, the little visitors are obviously the children. It sounded like the kids came over in the morning, and then he decided that this is the first time they've been at my house in ages. I better go do a stream to tell the internet about it and not spend time with them. But I guess they came, visited, and left, and then came back. That seems to be the actual course of events. But he's very happy that the kids are back. 2 more weeks, guys. They'll be back here without the grandparents, allegedly.
To hang out. So I'm very excited for that. But I figured in the meanwhile here, we would do a little show. A lot of people are saying a lot of funny things about me, which is fine. Like I said, they get to do that. But it's interesting watching.
There are a lot of funny things being said about Nick. This is one of my favorite ones, actually. I'm actually very sad that I didn't come up with this meme.
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
Because as a Simpsons enjoyer, I think I really should have been the first to come up with that, but I have to credit that to the farms. They do most of my work for me. I just read it. So, yeah, a lot of people are having a bit of fun. They are having a bit of fun. You could definitely say that.
The lack of reading comprehension, and it's interesting seeing people make leaps in logic about things, and just simply draw conclusions that are completely fictitious. But it's all the same for me. It doesn't matter until things happen and happen publicly. I just have to kind of watch and go, that's interesting. Kind of sucks that people think that, but that's interesting. But anyway, at least I'm not Mr. Beast, I guess. again, working on getting daytime scheduling kind of locked down. Things are moving along at a nice clip in my personal
Fiance.
dilemmas.
So that's an older Rekieta meme.
That soon should have some more clarity and resolution on scheduling, which is why
these streams, I don't see them happening. I really don't see them happening. He's been promising these daytime streams for a long time. This is the first one that I think I've seen. And how is it going to have more time for daytime streams when the kids are back in the house, if they, in theory, come back, which I'm not so certain on. But tonight's document actually shed some light on why he thinks they'll be back soon. And it's basically they're reaching the 60-day window for since the kids have been taken. It's almost their 2-month anniversary of being childless.
Looking to ramp things up to more frequently and more consistently and predictably per week, so that things can kind of get going again. But again, good people inexplicably have decided that things are different than they are, but that's fine.
Well, it's not that people have decided that things are different than they are. It's that he lies every opportunity he gets, and people have finally started to realize it. And I actually do have some evidence, proof, pictorial evidence of Nick in his own lie, which I will show quite shortly.
But yeah, the kids will be home in less than 2 weeks, as I said the other day, which gives me a whole lot more certainty around when streaming will work and what streaming will look like in regards to balancing that time out with family. So yeah, thank you. But expect to see more daytime stuff as well.
I wouldn't place a bet on it, if you're being honest.
In there. Much appreciated. And for everybody asking, like, a lot of people have asked me for stuff without getting too detailed, like people who want me to release a whole bunch of things. Guys, there was a leaked court order which talks about most of that stuff that you're asking for. And I don't know if you realize, but it specifically references the fact that that's under a protective order. I can't release the stuff you want me to release.
He says that while he actively files petitions to seal everything. Just keep that in mind.
It's under protective order. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you want or think or whatever, but if you read the documents you've already seen and actually read them instead of reading them with like frothing at the mouth, you could maybe take a moment and go, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. Look, my case will be dealt with as on the timeline that it's supposed to be dealt with. That's the best I can say for now. But I'm hopeful for a good resolution, good outcome to it. And this has been a fun little nightmare. And I wouldn't wish it on almost any of you. A couple of you, though.
Except for Aaron, I suppose, who is trying to get for every opportunity. If you're unaware, if you didn't watch the last stream, they have filed a complaint against Aaron Imhotep or Imolte. But he's basically a mummy. Look at the man. He's falling apart. Yeah, they have fired a revenge prawn charge against him for sharing Kayla's nudes, the nudes that should never have existed, as Nick has said many times in the past. At least the old Nick said that. The new Nick is a completely different person. But he's filed against him, and also he has tried to snitch on the judge. He literally said at the end of their hearing, because if you remember the arraignment hearing, the judge said, I do not give permission for this to be rebroadcast under, I guess, perjury of the court or whatever it was. Now, that doesn't really affect anyone outside of Minnesota. And even in Minnesota, there's realistically going to probably nothing come of it. But of all the people that restreamed it, and many people did, one of them who was in Minnesota would have been Aaron. So at the end of one of Nick's hearings, and I think this was 2 streams back, we talked about this. He says, Your Honor, excuse me, I need something to tell the teacher. I'm aware of someone that was restreaming the arraignment hearing. Do I tell that to you? Or can I tell the prosecutor? Who should I tell to get this person in trouble? Literal snitch rat behavior. But I guess, that is what it is.
A couple of you. But yeah, no, it's not a great thing. It's not a funny joke to me at all.
Exactly. That's the hypocrisy of it, right? Snitching to the government that he tells you that you cannot trust, the government that is setting him up, that government, the very same government. And the funny thing was, it was going to go to, I think, was it Judge Fisher, the one that he was making fun of, saying those vile things about, and failing in court with her and then going to the elevator to have a private shower call with her as well. He was doing this behavior even before he started streaming. The shower calls existed back then too.
It is. So it's something I have to deal with. And everybody wants something out of it. But the one person who can't do almost any of the things that people are asking is me, because I'm the one on the line here, guys. Sorry. So you'll just have to deal with what you get elsewhere. STD says, just want to late.
All right. This is the real reason I wanted to play this clip. It's just something I found it particularly funny.
Right, chat's back. Miss those fireside lot chats. They're not necessarily gone. They'll probably be less frequent. Again, scheduling is going to change because kind of the structure. And I was looking to change schedules anyway. And as we moved out of the last school year through the summer and into the next school year, there's already going to be changes because each school year for us is very, very different. We had, we got one of those, last year, I think it was at the end of last summer or maybe the summer before, we got one of those big bouncy houses that hook up to a water hose that sprays everywhere. And like the kids, it inflates and the kids can jump all over it and climb in their slides and stuff. And so we had
bouncy castles. When I heard this, I had a bit of a chuckle. Because this sounds exactly like that trade-offer meme. You ever see that one? Like this? Like this? Trade offer. I receive Coke, April Snatch, destroy our lives and family reputation forever. You receive a bouncy castle for one day. Good deal for the kids. I'm sure they enjoyed that. They got that bouncy castle, boys. It's bouncy castle confirmed. Bouncy stream confirmed. 24-hour bouncing confirmed. It's all going to happen. All right. Now, so when this is an excerpt from the Saturday stream, and while this stream started, Minnesota Public Records wasn't prepared. They weren't watching live, but about hour, maybe 30 minutes, it could have been even, into this stream, the more documents dropped, which I'll get to in just a second. But something funny happened as well, and that is, in regards to these documents dropping, there was some messages from Jenny Josh, not me, the other Josh, the owner and operator of the Kiwi Farms. And he said this message. Let's see. It says, hear ye, hear ye. It is the 4th of August in year 2024 since the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. I have been contacted by King Baldo through a series of ropes and pulleys and given a missive in accordance with the unspoken agreement. The body of such missive will be presented as accurately as possible without direct copies, thereby granting the benefit of a doubt that I am simply making it all up. Sir Rekieta finds it necessary to impart the following upon the undeserving and unwashed masses. Sir Rekieta dearly wishes the footage to be made available. However, due to the court order in the Child Protection Service case, as a result of a request he filed himself, discovery is sealed. Sir Rekieta wishes that consenting to such a release would make him look irresponsible in the eyes of the court, revealing intimates of his home for the benefit of only an evil doxing website, which the court would not find amusing. Sir Rekieta would like to point out that I, in regards to Josh Moon, fled the country for unknown reasons, and that the Kiwi Farms is a bunch of lolly avatars, which makes us even less deserving of seeing the divine footage. I will allow the absurdity of such a statement to sit as it is. Sir Rekieta would like to inform everyone that they are retarded and that the children will be returned. Though I think almost immediately into the thread, people with hands-on experience working for the state CPS have said that children almost always are returned to the homes, barring extraordinary abuse cases, because of the household must be a true horror show to be worse than the system. And I also don't really think that the prevailing winds of the thread have been against him ever having custody again, especially supervised custody, hereby entered into the record. So that was the first part of the shower call, the shower text that we received. Nick, not me, Josh received. But then there was a second part where he clarified some stuff. Someone asked, I guess it was Solidus. Solidus asked Noel, have you ever responded to any of Nick's messages? Or has this been one-way traffic since the shower text conversations? And he said this time, because he's been ignoring everything, just straight up, just leaving him on red, basically. But he said, we actually had a really hostile back and forth this time. Ooh, that sounds spicy. And then he further adds to that, after Rotolo said to him, Why did Baldo talk shit if he's afraid of the DMs getting released and had you summarize it instead? Is he stupid? He knows that if he said anything relevant, they will just get in discovery anyway. And then Null responds, dunno. He also does this thing where he concludes his monologue with peace, as if to imply he's done talking to me. And then he responds every way. It's literally Ronversations part 2.0. If you remember that, back from the old days, during the Vic Mignogna, Monica Rial, Jamie Marshy case, there was Monica Rial and Ron Toye. And Ron Toye was the personal fiancé of Jamie Marshy. And he would start berating Nick in text, and Nick would make a show out of this called Ron's Versations. And it was very entertaining, honestly, very, very entertaining. There was some great classic episodes, like when Ron talked about how he's abusive, but he came over it by reading these books and, you know, offered to send these books to Nick free of charge, things like that. There was a lot of remote talk and wife beater being worn to court. It was a funny time. Let's not pretend it wasn't a fun time. But it's very reminiscent of that, in my opinion. Not Jamie. He was fun. Oh, Rial. Sorry, yeah. Monica Rial was the personal fiance of Ron Toye. Alrighty. I think that's the extent of my pre-show, which means... actually, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this one additional thing. This is just something I want to keep in the back of your head and we'll reference back to later. It says, Big PP on Twitter asked Nick, why didn't you let the CPS enter your master bedroom? That was also a requirement to see your kids again, you filthy crackhead. Nick responded on Twitter. Actually, he's been doing a lot of responding on Twitter recently. He went a bit of a tirade on this, some chick who has like a Rumble stream, just some Catholic woman, I don't know. And then Dick Masterson was jumping in too to, I guess, gang up on this mum. This is, I guess, just some mum who has a stream or something. I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention to it. It was the weekend after all. But Nick responded, it wasn't a requirement, and I did not prevent them from entering. Keep that in mind. Just remember that. In fact, I specifically asked them to inspect my entire house, which they have done. It's almost like a government worker lied. I called the government worker and their co-worker 10 times that morning to get them into my house, and they were not doing a walkthrough, and they were not prevented access. One day, I get to tell the whole story. Well, part of that story gets told today, as it is in the first half of the admit, deny hearing. Now, you'll have to forgive me if I make some mistakes here because this is pretty hard to read. It's very blurry. I started to think I needed glasses, but no, it's just that sometimes the secret hero that maybe we don't deserve, but the one that we need, Minnesota Public Records, uploads kind of trash tier copies that are very difficult to read. I wonder if they do this to try and hide them, to try and obscure who they are. Because maybe when you, I don't know, this is just completely conjecture, but maybe when you download a document, there's like some sort of digital trace in it, you know, maybe there's like a very subtle watermark or something that might expose what access terminal it was on, for example. And so maybe they, in the effort or the interest of remaining anonymous, maybe they print them out, then rescan them so that it's a copy of a copy and it degrades a little bit, just enough to keep them anonymous. Could be the reason. Maybe they're just the way they do it. I don't know. It's a mystery to us. But Jamie Moodley said with 7, what are they? ZAR? I don't know what these are. What is ZAR? Is that, I don't know. 14 something. It's a blue one. Ronversations and the Greer streams were peak Nick. Yes, they were. Those are pretty entertaining days. When he had the fake mouth thing and he tried to drink whiskey with an open mouth, that was pretty funny. Pretty entertaining times. I will also, since we mentioned Greer, I remember something that Nick said about Greer. He said, you might think it's sad or pathetic or bullying to talk about a man with a disability like Mobius syndrome, which Russell Greer has. And he said, no, it's fine, because Russell Greer is a terrible person. He harasses Taylor Swift. He harasses women. Because he is such a evil little troll, regardless of his disability, it's okay to make fun of him. So I would just like everyone to remember the standard. If someone's a bad person, it's okay to make fun of them. Okay? I agree with that statement, which is kind of a little bit of the impetus for these streams. But anyway, let us begin finally. I think we've distracted people for long enough. Remember to hit the stream as we go through this. It's a long one, pretty long. We'll be here for a while, but you can always catch it on replay if you have to go out. I know a lot of people watch these streams when they're getting ready to go to work. So hopefully I can join you for the beginning of your day. It's good stuff. Appearances. Oh, no, wait, actually. I should read this part first. The above entitled matter came on before the Honorable Keith Helgelson. Is it Helgelson? I'm always confused with this name. Judge of the District Court in the Candiota County Courthouse, Wilmar, Minnesota, on the 6th day of June, 2024, beginning at 11, or actually, no, that's 10:12 a.m. Appearances. The petitioner appeared through its attorneys, Kristen Pierce and Rachel Molesbury, Candiota County Attorney Office. The mother, Nick Rekieta, appeared personally along with her attorney, John Mueller. And father, Nicholas Rekieta, appeared personally along with his attorney, Dawn Weber. And they have the addresses for the lawyers' offices. The children, the eldest son, and I believe these are the two daughters, actually, I'm not sure. The three eldest children were also in the court. They also appeared along with their attorneys. And I believe this is because of something, oh, shoot, what was it called? McKenna's Law? So I think the way it works is kind of weird. But in Minnesota, if a child is over 10, they get their own attorney. And the court case is kind of like you're suing your own children to get them back. I don't know. It's a bit odd. But basically, this means that any of the kids that are above 10, which is 3 of them, get to have their own attorney and get to go to court. So 3 kids were in the courtroom along with their attorneys. And Christy with an I, which is a red flag, by the way. Don't name your kids with I's at the end. Guardium ad litem appeared personally. Also present was Alicia Schweep. This is a big day for sweeping up and Jenny's. Social worker with Candiota County Health and Human Services. And then there was the foster parents, which are the paternal grandfather, Robert Rekieta. That's Nick's dad, I believe. All right. Let's see. Whereupon the following proceedings were duly had. The court says, all right. For the record, then, this is in the matter of the welfare of the children of Kayla. Is it Rekieta? Mm-hmm. Okay, Rekieta and Nicholas Rekieta. The matter comes on for a continued emergency protective care hearing and admit deny hearing. And then, can I just have all the parties identify? And then they go through the roll call. So you have Miss Weber, Mr. Mueller, and Nick, and their attorneys. You know what? I'll just read it all. In the interest of doing everything, completion is on. I'm trying to 100% complete and unlock the New Game Plus on this court case, if that's what you're wondering. So let's see. Mr. Weber says, thank you. Dawn Weber, representing the mother. Mr. Mueller, you represent the father, Nicholas Rekieta. Oh, are you sure? No, just kidding, father. So I guess they got a little bit of a mix-up. I am Nicholas Rekieta, the father. All right. I'm Kayla Rekieta, the mother. All right. John Mueller, representing the mother. Kayla Rekieta. All right. And on to document page number 3. I think there's like 30 documents here, by the way. Now, who's this person's name? Greener? It's very hard to read. Carter Greener. I represent the children. And then there's the 3 children's names who are seated behind me in the gallery. Okay. And also, who is the other 2? Where are the other 2 children? Are they present also? Or is it just these 3? To my knowledge, they are not. I believe the other 2 are both under 10. All right. And then Mrs. Barber, Gaudium ad litem. So I believe the younger kids are with the uncle. I want to say uncle. I think that's Kayla's side, by the way. And she was one of the people that was actually kind of telling on Kayla and Nick. Mrs. Barber says, yes, Christy Barber, Guardium ad litem, and in the gallery, we have the paternal grandfather and the maternal grandparents, who are the foster parents. And this is the first big red flag in this court appearance. Get ready for this. And then in support, April Imholte. Ape escaped to the gallery. You are going to the court with the woman who you were arrested with when you were having your drug-fueled orgy or something. The mistress, the throuple, appears in court and you mention it. Like, you could just be a stranger. Just don't say her name. Like, if she's going to, like, why is she here? This is the first really weird thing in this document. Like, what the actual? When I saw this, when I heard this, I didn't believe it at first. Bringing your hoe on the day of trying to get your kids back. And the kids are there. The kids are saying, what's this chick doing here? Who can say? Who can say? I thought this was pretty outrageous. All right, then. Alicia Sweep, Kandiyohi County Health and Human Services. Rachel Molesbury, Assistant Kandiyohi County Attorney. And Kristen Pierce, First Assistant Kandiyohi Court Attorney. The court says, all right, then I know this was on for the continued EPC, or Emergency Protective Care, hearing. Is this going to continue to be, I'm not sure. Is this going to continue to be a continued EPC? Yes, it is. Okay. And then, are we going to take testimony, Mrs. Pierce? Yes. Okay. Then who do you want? Mrs. Sweep. Alicia Sweep, Your Honor. The court. And Mrs. Sweep, do you want to stand or do you want to come forward and then be sworn in? I can tell you, I'm not familiar with this courtroom. There is a witness stand. Do you want to swear her in? Is the court, I don't know about this. Maybe the court is calling in from like a digital Zoom or something. Maybe that's why they're not in person. Maybe they can't see the entire courtroom. But I believe it says here that they gave her the oath. So Alicia Sweep says, having been first duly affirmed, this is Alicia Sweep. Having been first duly affirmed, was examined and testified on her affirmation as follows. The court. Then, Mrs. Pierce, you may proceed. Thank you. Direct examination begins. Can you please state your full name and your last name for the record? Yep, Alicia Sweep. S-W-E-E-P. Sweep it up. Post those brooms in chat, if you so desire, chat. Let me see. And what is your occupation? I am a child services supervisor. And what are your job duties as a child supervisor? I oversee child protection intake, investigate, and family assessment, as well as oversee the case aid duties that support those positions. I oversee the investigations and family assessments that are opened with the Kandiyohi County Health Protective Services. How long have you worked for Kandiyohi County Health Services? I've worked for Kandiyohi County Health Services and Human Services for about 10 years. And how many of those years have you been working in child's protection? I have worked in child protection for 8 years. Did you receive a report involving Nicholas and Kayla Rekieta? I did. And when was that? It was on the 23rd of May. Can you explain what the report was? The report was that law enforcement was going to the home of Nick and Kayla Rekieta to execute a search warrant. Upon executing that search warrant, they had found substances believed to be cocaine. And what was located in the home? Located in the home was drug paraphernalia, firearms, ammunition, cocaine, and ketamine, or as I like to call it, reketamine. Approximately how much cocaine was located? Approximately 26.67 grams, so over 26 grams, yes. And are you aware of how that substance was identified? I was just aware that it had been field tested. And did you go to the home? I did. And what did you learn when you went to the home? When I went to the home, I had learned that they were still in the process of the search and that they had entered the home. The home was very cluttered. Ooh, spicy bit coming up. The home was very cluttered. Oh, wait, that's not a very good line. Let's do that again. The home was very cluttered. It was hard to walk around the home without stepping on clothing, bedding, and blankets. Literally, you could sprain your ankle. There's so much filth on this house. Now, Nick will tell you that they had a little bit of dirty laundry, up on the bed, maybe up on a couch. When you're like you're maybe fresh out of home, 18 or 20 or something, maybe you're going to university, you do a load of laundry and you throw it on the bed so you can go back to gaming, you go back to gaming. You sit in your computer chair, you game until, it's shit, it's 12 o'clock, too late to fold the laundry now. Let's switch the clothes to the chair. Then you get up, switch the clothes back to the bed. You go back to gaming. Oh, time to go to class, time to go to work. No time to do the laundry. I'll do that when I get home. That's kind of what Nick tries to sell the story. They're just moving clean clothes and piles of clothes. But no. The county health professional says the floor was so cluttered, it was hard to walk through the house without tripping on clothing, bedding, and blankets. Now, Nick does say in his seething post, it's almost like a government worker lied. Now, this is a very tricky situation. We've got a he said, she said. Nick says the house is a little bit dirty. County Health Services says it's really dirty, dangerously dirty, they even say. Now, if only there was some sort of pictorial evidence or body cam footage that could determine which one of these people is telling the truth. It's a strange thing to lie about. If the house really is that dirty, I guess it's going to come to light, surely, right? Well, that'll be very interesting if we get to see it, right? That might, this might be a little bit of indication of why perhaps Nick is working so hard to keep the body cam footage sealed. Now, if you're curious about the body cam footage, I will mention that I did have a pretty good stream about it. The previous stream, I believe it's called reviewing where's the body. It's called Where's the Body Cam Footage, basically. And I go through the entire documents and rules and procedure, and even legal mindset Andrew comes on to talk to me about it. Now, it seems like there's a little bit of a question there, and that is the footage considered part of an active investigation, or is it a matter of evidence? If it's part of an active investigation, it can remain sealed. But once it gets introduced into evidence, then it can come out. Of course, with the people that did not submit to it, to consent, I should say, will be blurred on that case. And that's why it costs so much. But it can be released by the parties, any party that was there, the police officers. They're not going to do that, though, realistically. Or Nick, Kayla, or April, after it goes from confidential information, which could have occurred already, we don't know. That is one of the questions that we had at the end of that stream. But once it is changed from confidential to private, it can then be released by any of the parties. But Nick has submitted several petitions to try and seal this footage, regardless of how much he tells you that he wants you to see it. So don't believe his lies. Don't believe his lies. Let's see. Where were we? I'll just mention you. Here we go. Yuki says, member for 15 months. Thank you very much. Much support. Says laundry takes 7 to 12 business days. Yeah, body cam footage and laundry take about the same time to come out or be clean, I suppose. Who can say? Continuing, let's see. I learned that they were in the process of locating safes and opening those safes in the home. And that's the safe where the drugs were being held. But I believe the safe door was open. I'm not sure about that, though. And were there any children present? Yes. Were all the children present that are subject to this petition present? Next page. No. Who was not present? And this is the son. So the son was not present, according to Alicia Sweet. And how were the children? Were the children placed with a relative? Yes. How were they placed with a relative? Kayla was still in the home when I arrived, or Mrs. Rekieta. When I arrived at the home, we had discussed that the children would be going on a law enforcement hold and coming into the custody for foster care placement. She had asked if they could go with family. I stated yes, we could vet family if she supplied names. She did supply her parents' names of Dan and Sherry. It says Sherry with an I. It's a red flag. Got to watch out for those Sherrys and those candies and those Christies. Let me see. And have the children been in the care since May 23rd of 2024? Yes. Since that time, have there been any drug tests on the children? Yes. What kind of drug test? They did a hair follicle test, drug testing. And what were the results of this hair follicle testing? All the children, with the exception of, and this is the daughter, and I believe she is a 9-year-old. And in fact, I believe it was her birthday, the day that the police arrested them. Good birthday present, right? To have your door kicked in, parents taken away and gone to live on a semi-permanent vacation with the grandparents. Let me see. So all the other children tested negative, but the daughter did test positive for cocaine. And approximately what was the level of that test? Over 5,000. And what was the cutoff? 500. So 500 is like the base level of what they're looking for. If it's like 4 to 99 or whatever, they'll be like, well, could be nothing. Let's just ignore it. But over 5,000 is 10 times the base, what they're looking for in a normal range. 500. Were you able to, can you explain, have Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta Have they been cooperating with drug testing for the agency? And here we go, guys. Mr. Rekieta says, objection, Your Honor. And then Mr. Pierce says, objection. And then Mr. Rekieta continues, I object to the introduction of the drug test evidence. Now, this might seem like nothing much, but this is actually a very big deal. Why can't Nick be a lawyer? Despite the fact that he said that he's not actually acting as a lawyer in his own case, he can't yell objection, as I understand it, because when I was talking to Sean about this, I believe he told me that this is called hybrid representation, which is not allowed. So you can represent yourself. You can, as a lawyer, you can represent yourself. You can have someone else represent you, but you can't do both. So Nick trying to jump in and play Phoenix Wright, objection. That's a big no-no and very embarrassing for him and his lawyer. The court says, Mrs. Weber, do you have an objection? Okay, so Mr. Pierce, never mind. So Mrs. Weber, that's right. That's Nick's lawyer. Do you have an objection? Mrs. Weber says, I plan on cross-examining Mrs. Sweep on the drug test evidence. It has not been actually reviewed by a toxicologist. There hasn't been enough time, so there is some question as to whether or not it's accurate. The court says, all right, I'm going to overrule. I'll allow it. Relatable hearsay can come in under the EPC rules. So you may proceed, Mrs. Pierce. Now, someone messaged me on Twitter, actually, and they told me that they are a little bit more experienced with these sort of tests than I am. And I might bring them on sometime to talk to them or record like a little short interview asking them about it if it's so necessary. But one of the questions that I think a lot of us had is it's very strange for all of the kids to test negative except for this one girl. And we do know, and like I also kind of joked about this, but like I said to like previous streams sometime back that like I'm kind of surprised that Nick didn't just shave his head so that there could be no more hair follicle testing on him, because the hair follicle test shows drugs in the system for up to 90 days. And while I have no evidence, and this is complete headcanon, so bear it with a grain of salt, it is possible that the other kids would have tested positive for these substances unless they had a haircut, right? If the boys are testing negative, but their boys typically have short hair, then in the time period of, 90 days, they may have actually tested positive for this had they not come out with a haircut. Now, again, no evidence of this. I'm not saying this is what happened, but it is something you should think about. Maybe consider the facts. But it is very strange for just one of them to test for that. Unless Camelot's theory about the self-medication of the kids is actually, a true representation of what happened. Let me see what we have here. Cesar Lother with 10 Singaporean dollars says, I am holidaying in Japan as of now. Which city are you in? I was in Hokkaido last week. It was a cool 15 degrees centigrade or 60 degrees Fahrenheit on rainy mornings. Now in the Tokyo area. Max is in the Tokyo area, so, maybe you could hang out with him. I'm in Osaka at the moment, and if you need some advice, I'd be happy to talk to you after the stream about that. I hope you're having a great trip, but it's really hot down here. And there's going to be a bit of a weeb talk at the end of the stream, by the way, like spoiler alert. But it is today. There was a thunderstorm, so it cooled down a little bit. But it was 36 degrees Celsius or 100 and what is it? No, sorry, it was what is that? 97 Fahrenheit? I don't know. It's very, very hot down here. And in Hamaotsu last week, it was 41 Celsius, which is 105.6 Fahrenheit for the Americans in the chat. So it's hot down here. So drink a lot of Pocori Sweat and you should be okay. There's also, you can get these are like salt candy, and you can use them to rehydrate and get electrolytes back into the body. Very good for hiking and cycling and stuff. So you can pick these up at most shops and also drugstores. So I'd recommend those. They're pretty tasty too. I kind of just chomp them down like candy. All right, let's where were we? After a cope sip, yes. Patented cope sips. Pocori Sweat with a very silly name, but it's actually very good. It's just it's like Gatorade, basically. But yeah, the name is funny. There's a lot of funny names in Japan. All right, let's see. By Miss Pierce, continuing. And I'm sorry. I believe I was asking, what was the cutoff on that? All right, so going back, after Nick's objections have been quelled. 500. Okay. And have Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta cooperated with the drug testing for the agency? Now, Nick would have you know that he has done testing for everything. Oh, what's my... Sorry, it is actually getting hotter in my room now. So I turn the heater back down. Let me see, where are we? Has Mrs. and Mrs. Rekieta cooperated with drug testing for the agency? They did a drug test, a hair follicle drug test on May 30th. Do you have the results of that test? I do not. I did not have the results. I thought Nick said he was complying with everything that was required. Now, he's using lawyer speak there because he has been doing the piss tests from June. I think, June 1st or June 7th was the first test? So I think he waited 2 weeks. And for your reference, apparently cocaine can clear a piss test in about 48 hours. So literally, if he just waits 2 days, and he can sneak away with that. He refuses to hand this hair follicle test over to County Health Services or the prosecutor, even though it's a kind of a key piece of evidence that they want to prove that he's on. And obviously, he's got a right not to incriminate himself. Of course. But it is interesting if you hear him say that I've been doing everything. I'm a good boy. I didn't do no drugs. I gave up all my tests. What are you worried about? No, he's withholding a test. The test that shows that he's a druggie. And of course, there's nothing wrong with doing drugs, in my opinion. I don't do them personally, but I drink, So it's not like, I think there's not that much difference between them. The problem is doing drugs around children and perhaps exposing them to them, which seems to be the case. That's the issue here. The degeneracy in front of children, not just the degeneracy that's, you can have a little bit as a treat if you're a single person. Let me see. Subsequent to taking the test, was there anything done by either Mr. or Mrs. Rekieta? Yes, I had received notification from the Minnesota monitoring that Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta have revoked the release of information for the Kandiyohi County to do any further testing for them for drug testing. And have you been to the home of Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta? I have. And when was that? That was on the 28th, I believe. I would have been there. It would have been the Tuesday following Memorial Day. And were you allowed into the home? I was allowed into the home. And were there any rooms that you were not allowed access to? Yes. Ooh, wait a minute. Let's see what Nick said. Nick said on June 21st. It was a requirement, and I did not prevent them from entering. In fact, I specifically asked them to inspect my entire house, which they have done. It was almost like the government worker lied. I called the government worker and their co-worker 10 times that morning to get them to my house, and they were not doing a walkthrough, and they were not prevented access. One day, I will get to tell the whole story. Looks like I'm hitting the whole story. There's actually, when he says he called the county worker 10 times, I think they mentioned that in this document as well, in regards to something else. But we'll see. Can you explain? Mr. Rekieta had wanted to show me the 20, I believe this is the 22. The 22. So the art piece is called the 22. A piece of artwork that contained a 22 caliber empty shell casing that may have been found near the firearm. So when the master bedroom was raided, they found like a AR under the bed, personal home defense weapon or whatever. They found an empty 22 casing, and then they found all the drug shit. And that was in the master bedroom and the adjoining bathroom, where Sonny the dog is permanently on lockdown. Forever. We need to save Sonny, guys. Sonny needs to see the light of day. The pupper needs to be rescued. They're still in the den, the bunker. That puppy is an innocent person. Although maybe Nick doesn't think they're innocent since he slipped on the dog toy and got his black eye. Maybe he's punishing the pupper by leaving it in the bathroom. Who can say? But yeah, there was an empty 22 casing. And some people were suggesting at the beginning that, like, what is he making, brown or something? But apparently it was just from a piece of artwork called the 22, which I guess is just like, I don't know, maybe it's a picture of a gun made out of bullets or something. I don't know, kind of cringe. Who can say? Zodok Attack with 10 says, just for reference, hair follicle testings are only for head hairs. They're not just for head hairs. It can be done with leg hair and arm hair as well. Well, there you go. Nick needs to get that Gillette for men to beat the government. Come on, Nick. Are you going to nair every part of your body just for men? Gillette, the best a man can get to get away with drug charges, right? That is actually kind of interesting. That would be pretty funny if if someone like shaved their entire body to try and get away with it. Do nose hairs work? Well, Nick's ones do, because they're about 3 inches long. which is only half the length of his nose. But there you go. There you go. Oh man, that's just such a funny visual mental image, right? I think there was an episode of CSI, right, like that, where there was a guy that shaved his entire body, and then he had like fake eyebrows and a fake wig, and he was like the impossible to detect breaking and entry guy. Actually, I think he was a rapist, but that all CSI cases are basically that. But anyway, enough tangents for right now. We'll go back to some later. Let me see. Where was I? Let me see. I followed Mr. Rekieta back to the bedroom, and he had indicated it was his and Kayla's bedroom. When I got to the door, he stated, "You do not need to come in here." He went in, shut the door, retrieved the artwork, and then came back out. Where were the controlled substances located in the search? I believe they were located in the master bedroom of Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta, as well as a bathroom that adjoins the bedroom. Hashtag, let me see, save. Oh, that's a terrible S. Oh my goodness. It looks like a 5 upside down. Save Sunny. There we go. So the very place where the drug stuff, the garbage, like the trash, everything could be, it's all in the master bedroom, the one room you can't see. But he said that he said that he let them into every room. The government was lying. Interesting. Oh yeah, you can do SS is the shorthand. You can do hashtag SS. That stands for Save Sunny. Thank you, Renee. That's very helpful. Saves a lot of time. I'll just do that next time instead. That's a smart move there. Let me see. Where were the controlled substances located during the search? I believe they were located in the master bedroom along with Mr. I read that part. Have there been any safety meetings with Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta? Yes. When was that? That was yesterday. As part of the safety meeting, were either Mr. or Mrs. Rekieta able to identify what any type of the signs of use are? I believe they were. I stepped out to go to the bathroom while they were being reviewed. I do know other staff who were present in the courtroom were also present in that safety meeting. Have Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta been able to address how they plan? Actually, I'm not sure. I think it says address how to plan around drug use. Yeah, I think that it's pretty hard to read here. Have Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta been able to address how to plan around drug use of the drugs found in the house? No. And why not? When we questioned around what was found in the home and around the drugs found in the home or drug use, Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta have stated they do not want to answer any questions regarding that. Are there any services that the court could order today that would allow the children to return home safely? No. Oh, why not? We have not been able to establish sobriety by Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta. Oh, but I thought he was doing drug tests every day. I thought he was doing piss tests every day. They can't establish sobriety? Interesting. That seems to be a requirement for getting the kids back, Nick. Why can't you just very simply establish this? We have not been able to establish how those substances were found and how they got into the home. So we have been unable to do any safety planning around returning the children. So basically what's happening here, as I understand it, is that because Nick refuses to say there was drugs in the house, which, is his right, because they are refusing to say what everything is, they cannot come up with a way to clean the house. Like, let's say there's probably different ways to clean houses for different substances. And if you do not tell the person who knows what you should be doing, what drugs that can do it, they can't say it's going to be safe. Pretty simple there. Let me see. And have you indicated that the children are currently placed with a relative? Is that the least restrictive and most home-like setting? Yes. Do the children have a prior relationship with those relatives? Yes. Are there any services or examinations that the court could order today that would assist in starting the reunification process? Yes, I believe that the court would order chemical. I believe that if the court would order chemical use assessments or substance use assessments, as well as drug testing by Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta, as well as anybody who's going to be in the caregiving role within their home or have access to their home, where it may be unsupervised access, as well as complying with the agency and identifying how the children will not be exposed to further substances. What type of visitation are they having with their children right now? They are having supervised visitation, face-to-face contact by our agency at this time, and they are having supervised phone contact and Zoom contact by the foster parents, as well as the paternal grandparents. What are your recommendations for ongoing visitation? Our recommendations would be that if the agency still continues to supervise visits, what was the purpose of yesterday's safety meeting? The purpose was to develop a plan around how to get from agency supervising to support supervising face-to-face contact. Were you with the parties? Were the parties? I think this is parties, right? Parties? I think so. Again, it's a bit hard to read these sometimes. Were the parties able to come up with a plan? And let me see. No, we were not. And what are the concerns around having supervised visits at Harmony Visitation or at the agency right now? The concerns would be that both parental and maternal grandparents have stated that they are unfamiliar with that. They are unfamiliar with what somebody under the influence would look like. They just need to watch Nick's videos. They use it as the example from then on out. Both the paternal grandparents have stated that they do not believe that Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta use any types of substances. So the parents either don't believe that these are true, it's not true, or they just don't want to believe it, or they're just, looking out for their kids. But the grandparents are saying they don't believe any of this is all true. Now, Aaron has said that the grandparents came to drop something off at the house, and Nick stopped them at the doorway, refused to let them into the house so they couldn't see the mess. And that was when Nick's father was yelling at him to pay his taxes. He literally came to his house to say, pay your fucking taxes. You can't live tax-free, he said to Nick. But Nick said, I'm gonna do it later. Once I move the laundry from the bed to the PC chair, I'll do my taxes. Anyway, and so it is the agency's stance that there needs to be more education around how to identify those things and to ensure that the children are not around somebody who's actively using. Are you aware if either Mr. or Mrs. Rekieta have made any admissions to using controlled substances? They have not directly made admissions to me. I did observe during time in the court hallway. Spicy one coming up, boys. I did observe during time in the court hallway at the previous hearing where Mrs. Rekieta was hugging. Oh, I forgot to blur that one out. Okay, never mind. I think it's too small to read on your screen anyway. Was hugging the child. Oh, wait, shit. I did miss this one. All right, that's bad. My bad. Mrs. Rekieta was hugging the son. Mrs. Rekieta told the son that these are the consequences of our actions. Now, I did see that Aaron was saying that, oh, look at that. Kayla's actually got a heart. She's saying that we did something wrong. This is a terrible statement to introduce to the court. This is a terrible statement. They thought that they were talking privately, but it's now a matter of court record that Kayla said, these are the consequences of our actions. It's an admission of guilt. At least that's what the prosecutor will likely bring forward. This is terrible. This is really bad. Would returning these children to their parents at this point, be contrary to the well-being and welfare? Side. Yes, she says. She doesn't believe it's safe to send the kids back. Mrs. Pierce, I don't have any other questions. Thank you. The court says, all right, Mrs. Barber, do you have any questions for the witness? No, Your Honor. Thank you. All right. Then, Mrs. Weber, thank you, Your Honor. And then cross-examination will begin in just a second. Sir Bauhaus, with almost 2 years of membership, says, wow, almost 2 years. Mr. Meme, it's been a wild ride. I remember being excited about 100 concurrent viewers. Congrats, buddy. Thank you very much. Yeah, these streams are obviously much larger than my regular streams, but I appreciate the people, even if they're only here for this topic. It's fun. Maybe stick around, see if you like the other content I do. Much appreciated. As long as you leave a like, say hi in the chat, I'm pretty happy, even if you're only going to be here for a short while, not a long while. But to those members that have been here for so many months, I say thank you again. Just like Ika, who is a member for 18 months, says, save Sunny and pay your freaking taxes. That membership chat is unfortunately tax-free, as is every chat on this stream. So there you go. But much appreciated. Much appreciated. Wait a minute. I see some defamation in the chat. Josh is not an attorney. Are you sure about that?
He also got some great lawyers in there. Let's see, Meme Copium. That's a good lawyer that he got.
There you go. There you go. No, I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I have no legal training or experience. I don't have the attention span to be a lawyer, and I would probably, well, let's not say that, but I probably couldn't hack it as a lawyer, I'd imagine. Not that I've ever tried. But apparently it's really cringe to be a lawyer where I'm from. Like, it's really much more expensive. Merkins, using her 1 month chat to say, other content? Sure. Look, you guys, if you use your precious member chaps up, when I eventually invite Jeff back on, you won't be able to send them to him, right? You won't be able to say hi to him with those member chats. Anyway, Josh is even Jenny Josh isn't a lawyer either. He has a lawyer for him. Apparently his lawyer, I think it's Harding, is actually pretty good. I heard his lawyer is actually pretty good. All right, let me see. So cross-examination. Have you had an opportunity to see some drug testing that Mr. Rekieta did yesterday? That was shown to me when it was handed to Mrs. Pierce in the hallway. All right, and it's negative for everything except alcohol. Wait a minute. Did I read this? Did I see this? Did I miss this when I was previewing this document? And it tested negative for everything except alcohol. Are you aware of that? Oh, no. No, 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 no. No. So to be fair, sometimes these sort of piss tests do have false positives for alcohol. And so I'll maybe this isn't actually proof that Nick is doing maybe this isn't proof that Nick's doing alcohol right before his right before his court case, because I think that alcohol lasts in the system for a piss test is very, very short duration, like a matter of hours, right? So we'd have to be he'd have to be taking a shot like at 9 a.m., I think, for this. I'm not an expert on these piss tests, though, right? That is pretty funny to be in the documents, and it's not necessarily conclusive proof that Nick's drinking before going to his court cases, but it is pretty funny, and I'm not sure why I should give him the benefit of the doubt. But remember, Nick has never lied. He has never once told a lie. I can't believe that's just in there. Kitty says refund. No refunds. Bifron says, hi, Jeff. Tony Gray says, I've waited for Jeff for 2 years. Bring him back. I'll try and bring him back on Friday. So on Friday, we'll probably do the Cringe Van watch party because it's the anniversary of Cringe Van. And Jeff does actually feature in Cringe Van at the very beginning because the tropical typhoon Kanam almost cucked his trip to Anime Matsuri, which was actually the entire reason we did Cringe Van in the first place. Hubble says, what's up, Jeff? And also Flux says, hello to Jeff. Also boobies. Thank you very much for those valued and precious members of mine. Oh my goodness. How could this? Is it Miss Weber? It was Miss Weber, Nick's attorney, right? This is supposed to be the person defending Nick. Oh no, this is a question. But she says correct. Okay. Let me see. So, is that some indication that Mr. Rekieta's sobriety? Is that some indication of Mr. Rekieta's sobriety? Correct. It may be. Well, it was done at Minnesota Monitoring. Do you believe that there's a problem with the testing, or no? It's just it doesn't state what specimen was tested. So yeah, it's not entirely. It is entirely possible that this is an incorrect test in this instance here for the alcohol in the test, but they're looking for coke. That's what they're really looking for. So if we got something that was that showed that there was urine that was tested, i.e., that is that what you're looking for, or that what you're looking at? That it was a urine analysis versus something else, yeah, because then I would be able to establish something. Oh, establish use maybe. I'll be able to establish. Use. No, I don't think. What is this word? What is this word supposed to be? Establish kind. Oh, probably kind. Maybe kind, because then I'd be able to establish kind of the time frame of what I know testing is indicative of. And are you a certified toxologist? No. I understand that you do get some training in your role as a social worker. Correct. Correct. But you are not qualified to offer an expert opinion on drug testing and drug testing results. Correct. Correct. You mentioned, or you testified, excuse me, that you first came into the home. Was that during the process of the search when the folks were in there searching? Yes. All right. Kind of a chaotic scene. Kind of. That's an understatement. And you said that all the kids were there except the son, correct? Correct. Did you at that time know which child was which? No. Okay. And if so, if so, I were to tell you that the daughter wasn't, if the daughter wasn't there, you would you have any reason to doubt that? Yes. Okay. Why is that? So they're trying to discredit the social worker here, I believe, because she showed up after the search had already begun, and at that time, actually, no. Okay. So at the time she arrived, all the kids were present except the son. But when the police arrived at the house, Nick was driving and with the daughter in the car. So I believe they just dropped off the son. So they're trying to do a Lionel Hutz, like I'm not wearing a tie at all, sort of a tricky situation here. But it seems like she's on the ball and she knows what she's talking about. Okay, so why is that? Because as the 4 children were sitting outside talking while Mrs. I believe that's the other social worker, was inside with Mr. Rekieta getting belongings. I had talked to the children, asked them their names, asked them if there was any additional things that they needed from the home before leaving the residence, and daughter was there. Is it possible that when the search started, daughter wasn't there? I cannot speak to that. I was not there. So by the time you got to the children that were talking outside, it is possible that not all of those children were there when the warrant was actually executed. Correct? Correct. I can speak to who was there when I arrived. And do you know how far into the search those folks were by the time you got there? I do not know how far they were into the search. And you said that they had located and were opening safes. Is that correct? While we were at the residence, yes. So, do you know, for example, this cocaine, where was this located in the house? I do know where it was located. They found it in the master bedroom on the nightstand, is what I was informed when the report came in. Okay, but you were relying on the report of someone else, correct? Correct. And have you been to the home now since the drugs have been eliminated from the home, correct? Since the search warrant was executed. And I know you didn't get to all access, but from what you saw, was there any drugs laying around? I had access to the kitchen, living room, dining room area, and the hallway area on the main level of the floor. I did not see any drugs in those areas at the time I was there. Okay, what about drug paraphernalia? No. Was it clean? Yes. No clothes lying around? No. They cleaned the house, chat. Actually, I think we actually found out from a different source, but the grandparents helped clean the house up. They couldn't even do it by themselves. But bring it up, Rekieta W. He cleaned the house days later when the children's self-services arrived, but still wouldn't let them into the bedroom, which actually really boggles my mind, because if you knew that this woman was coming around to check to see if your house was suitable for children, why wouldn't you just clean your master bedroom just in case? Because surely if you can show her, surely it's not going to look good on the court. Like, I can understand not giving up information to incriminate yourself, but if they enter into the record, I went there to see if the house was safe and they didn't show me the entire house, that's not a good look, my friend. It's not a good look. Not a good look at all. And I know sometimes when we suspect that there is a drug use going on, we look at the condition of the home. Is that true? Yes. And were the conditions of the home at that time suspicious to you of possible drug use? I do not see any drug paraphernalia or substances. Okay. Was there any food left laying around? Dirty dishes? None that I saw. You were in the kitchen. Correct. And one of those things that you had mentioned was that the safety people, in this case, the grandparents, need more education on what it looks like, on what use of drugs looks like. Yes. And somebody under the influence. Okay. And if they've never seen anyone under the influence, how would they know? Then we would provide education to the grandparents on that. Okay. Have you started that? we have started with what do they know of, what does it look like, what has been there. I've talked with what has been their experience with drug use, as well if they know anyone who uses substances. And when you ask that question, do you know anyone that uses substances? Did they mention Mr. Rekieta? Let me see. No, they did not. As far as a statement that you overheard, allegedly, Mrs. Rekieta telling the Sun, these are the consequences of our actions. That's pretty broad, correct? Correct. There's a lot going on in this petition, agree? Correct. So, you're assuming that it had something to do with the drug use, correct? Possibly. Okay, but you don't have any evidence of that, correct? Correct. Do you have, or has your agency have, any evidence that Mr. Rekieta is a drug user? Not at this time. Of course, he has not given them the hair test follicle results. That is all I have. Thank you. The court says, all right, Mr. Mueller, any questions you have? Thanks, Your Honor. And then cross-examination by Mueller is about to begin. We're about halfway through this document. It's a long one, though. And it's not even the entire transcript. Minnesota monitoring is... no, not Minnesota Monitoring. That's a drug company. Minnesota Public Records has hidden half of this document, it would seem. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they didn't have access to the entire thing, or they got caught while printing off these documents. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. They're a very secretive person. Let me see what we have here. Oh, okay. So Zara African Rand. Oh, how interesting. Thank you, African Rand donator. Let's see. Mr. Mueller says, Mrs. Schweep, would you agree our goal and objective is to get the children back in the home as quickly and safely as possible? And she responds, correct. So, if the foster parents, paternal grandparents, were willing to do this, they were willing to move into that home today, would it be safe to place the kids in the home with them in that home? No. Why not? One of the children tested positive for cocaine. That child has denied using any of the substances. That child has denied using any substances or cocaine. And that's the only reason you would object to that? Correct. As well as safety planning around Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta's access to that home. Mr. Mueller says, thank you. That's all I have, Judge. The court says, all right, Mrs. Grainer, any comments or any questions? Yes, she does. Mr. I guess that's a dude. I think that's the children's attorney, right? Mrs. Schweep, to your knowledge, the last time you actually have proof that there was drugs in the home, at least in the form of so-called reliable hearsay, is from May 23rd of 2024? Correct. Which, just looking at my Outlook calendar, is... He's got an Outlook calendar? What a boomer. I don't know if I trust him with that. Approximately 2 weeks ago today. Correct. Do you agree that the parents have a pretty serious criminal matter pending? Correct. They were charged criminally as a result of this? Yes. But they have a fundamental constitutional right under to not incriminate, self-incriminate under our Minnesota and US constitutions. Correct. And would you agree that they find themselves in a very potentially untenable situation of not wanting to compromise their criminal case, but also wanting to have their children back, but faced with the untenable issue of cooperating potentially at the expense of self-incriminating themselves? Correct. And to your knowledge, as of today, there is no proof that the home is still cluttered or hard to walk around? That's such a brutal statement. It's hard to walk around their house because it's so dirty, like actual rat behavior. Correct. No evidence that the daughter has been exposed to cocaine since the search 2 weeks ago. I mean, sure, this is a wild question though. Are you sure it's like, no, she's been getting it from the grandparents. Like, no, of course not. Sure. Correct. Do you agree that Minnesota monitoring is the gold standard? It's the gold standard in piss testing. Let that sink in. That's a bit of a fun one, isn't it? The gold standard for urine analysis for drug testing and relied upon by both Kandiyohi County Community Corrections and Kandiyohi County Health and Human Services. Correct. Would you agree that getting up to at least the basics of signs of intoxication, whether cocaine or any other substance, would at least one could get a working knowledge very quickly by simply Googling the issue and watching a few YouTube videos? Yeah, if you wanna if you want to get a quick a quick introduction of what drug use looks like on YouTube, go to Alyssa Clips and look at the Coke stream. Oh man, if one of the judges, if one of the I mean, this is the guy that's representing the children, so it's basically on Nick's side of the case. Oh man, that would have been the funniest thing though. It's like, yeah, just check out Alyssa Clips and check out the Coke stream. Check out a few of Nick's videos. That'll give you an example of what it looks like when someone's on drugs. Whoa, woo, that's a spicy one. But yeah, Googling the issue and watching a few YouTube videos, perhaps, and in about 30 minutes, probably. From the grandparents' perspective, did they say anything about who they have witnessed being under the influence? They have not seen anyone, to their knowledge, under the influence for the for the paternal grandparents. Could you be more specific of why they've never seen anyone under the influence of what? Any illegal substances that would be prescribed to them? Did they talk about recognizing the signs of intoxication of alcohol? That was discussed during the safety meeting yesterday, and then I had to step out. Would you agree that the grandparents were the ones that raised the parents of at least one of the parents of the children? You're asking if they're the parents? Yes. 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 They're the ones who raised them. That's what I'm asking. That's my understanding, yes. So they have decades of experience being parents. Correct. And from that perspective, are experts in what is appropriate and from that perspective, are experts in what is appropriate parenting conduct. Correct. Well, I wouldn't say experts, but what would you say? I would say that they are skilled in what would be parenting conduct. Apparently, but yeah, look, I'm not gonna malign the grandparents. They haven't done anything wrong so far, at least, as far as I can see. Would you agree that they're skilled in recognizing immediately what is an appropriate parenting? Now, I don't. So Alicia says that she can't speak to that, but I don't believe for a second that the grandparents don't know the reality of what's going on here. Nick's dad watches the streams. Nick drinks on his streams a lot. He's drunk on his, well, he was at least. He was drunk on his streams all the time. They have absolutely seen Nick intoxicated and probably high on stream or in person before. The fact that they're defending their son doesn't surprise me. I mean, most parents love their children no matter, regardless, and they'll do anything they can to get them back, make sure they stay out of prison, everything. That's completely reasonable for a parent to do that. So I don't begrudge the grandparents for saying this at all, but I just don't believe them. Alicia says she can't speak to that. I was going to say she can't sweep to that, but never mind. In the context of grandparents supervising visitation or supervising the parents, in the context of mum and dad, would you agree that while they may not have expert knowledge of recognition of every controlled substance that parents could possibly take, that they would be extremely skilled in recognizing whether any sort of drug use was prejudicing or otherwise afflicting appropriate parenting behavior, otherwise appropriate parenting behavior? I'm going to suggest, I think this is suggest. It's very hard to read because it's like a big smudge. Actually, kind of funny, but like it looks actually, when I look at my preview screen, it actually is easier to read because it's, I guess, smaller and more compact, and thereby the letters actually are more legible. I'm going to suggest that to that as speculative. She's already said they don't know the signs of being under the influence. The court says, yeah, I'm going to sustain that. Let's move on. So Mr. Grainer continuing, would you agree that the best recognition for evidence of intoxication is positive drug tests? I think that's a form of recognition. Well, would you agree that if the parents are consistently providing negative urine analysis that effectively conclusive evidence that they are not using and not under the influence? I would state that the urinary analysis has a cutoff and drug testing has a cutoff. And those cutoffs are in place, recognizing for a reason, right? It does not mean abstinence. So even though these are they're posting positive piss tests, that doesn't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're not sneaking a couple drinks in every now and then. Who could be surprised? And I think from some of Nick's streams, actually, some people have suggested that as well, but you never really know. For all of Nick's failings, he is very good at drinking a lot of drinks. So I'm pretty sure he could take one or two and no one will notice. Let me see. I'm talking about the issue under the influence. You would agree that if they are consistently providing negative urine analysis for whatever substance being tested, that it is very strong evidence of not being under the influence. It would be, I would say, corroborating evidence. There has been other things to demonstrate being under the influence. So you disagree. If I'm hearing you correctly, are you disagreeing that negative urine analysis are very strong evidence of abstinence? I would say urine analysis as well as behavior. That if the person is using, that is why we go through in a safety meeting what the red flags, what the triggers are, may be. My question is, do you agree or disagree that negative urine analysis are strong evidence of abstinence? I would say yes. Yes, then. Thank you. So in the terms of a safety plan, if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're looking at for part of the plan is Minnesota monitoring urine analysis. Correct. In part because they're going to show almost conclusively one way or another whether the drug use is going on. Correct. A chemical use assessment follow recommendations. Correct. And a safety. What other specifics would you need in place before being in a position to recommend the children going home? Let me see. So, as part of the safety hearing, we go through what somebody would look like under the influence, specifically identifying signs of intoxication. Correct. In terms of the grandparents or anyone else being able to recognize them. Yes. And how long would that take once you sit down to give that education? I cannot speak to how long that would take. Well, can you estimate? Are we talking an hour? Are we talking a 3-week course? What are we talking about? I would say an hour, hour and a half. That's typically how long a safety meeting would be. And if you're willing to give priority to have that safety meeting, if and assuming the parents and grandparents are willing to participate in it, yes, we did that yesterday. Well, would you be willing to have another one expedited if they came to the position of wanting to participate in that at a level that you think should be necessary? I would say we can expedite it, but it is going to be contingent on being able to pull together a facilitator. Back to Mr. Mueller's plan, to the extent that grandparents are living in the home, what would stop if we give them their 1-hour education? Actually, I'm not sure if that's stop. Would it be stop? Yeah, what would stop? Doesn't say what would stop, right? What would stop if we give them their 1-hour education and sort of take into account that they are certainly skillful at recognizing appropriate parenting, however, parenting behavior, that they're not in a position to do two things. One, monitor, make sure parenting interaction is appropriate, and 2, make sure there's no drug use. You agree the grandparents would be able to recognize arguably, as well as you know, whether they are seeing someone that's suspicious that it may be drugs. Yes. And then the appropriate cleaning taken care of to remove any residual exposure. Have you talked to the grandparents about that? At least I was informed by the kids' understanding anyhow, is that the grandparents went through that house with the parents thoroughly to clean it. So literal confirmation in the court documents that Nick got mummy and daddy to help clean his own house. He can't even clean his own house unless he has a maid or mummy and daddy to help him out. Whew, my voice is getting tired. This is a long one. I saw some things in chat. I was like, let me see. Was this just Max talking to me? This is a good question by Tiny Gray. Have you ever thought about bringing on guests to read the other speaker like a play? That's a good idea. But because of the legibility of these documents, I would need to have a very good transcript. There's also a bit of an issue of just coordination. I think for these document streams, I prefer to go through them myself. And that's because I want to go at my own pace and I want to stop and maybe go on a tangent or think what this means to me. I went on Sean's stream on Saturday and this is kind of funny, like side story, I suppose. So I woke up, I slept in, it was Saturday, so I got a bit of a sleep in, because it was after my Friday stream. And I woke up maybe like 10 a.m. or something. And then I checked, messages. So I checked them, and someone's like, "Look, there's a new document drop. Nick's streaming. It's going down. It's going to shit." And then there was also a link to Sean's stream, and then oops, I kicked my table. And then Sean sent me an invite to that stream, so I was very unprepared, and I was trying to do my best. But I feel like there's a bit of me and Sean didn't have the best synchronization when we were reading through the document. Like I would start saying something and he would try and start reading the document again. So and then I was thinking these document streams I think are better just solo projects. I do love Sean. He's a great guy. He's very funny. I love streaming with him. But I feel like I was kind of just a bit of a wallflower in that stream. It wasn't my best performance, but I had fun and I was thankful he invited me. But I just think with reading documents, it's better to go at your own pace. That's my opinion anyway. But I'm not against having people on to ask questions about certain things. If I see someone with experience and someone that I know in chat, like when I brought Andrew on to talk about the meaning of the letters of the law for the, what is it, the Minnesota Data Record Act or whatever. That was good to bring someone in and answer some questions. I think that's a better way to do it, is to wait until I have some questions to ask, and then I can bring someone on as an expert. And I may do that with the guy that was talking to me about the drug testing, because he says he's, well, let me see, what did he say? I don't want to reveal his identity or anything, but he said, what did he say? He's got some interesting documents and things as well. He's a occupational health and safety and biochem undergrad, and he has some experience with drug testing peak shapes and the way that they do these tests, and specifically how they get the results that they do and what it means. So that sounds like a really good idea. If Nick starts saying that the drug test is bullshit, then I think I'll bring him on as a character or expert witness to talk about Nick's testimony. I think that'd be fun. I like it when you bring Max on to spill whatever is on his mind all the time. Look, this stream is probably going to be like 2 or 3 hours. If I bring Max on, it's a 12-hour or 24-hour stream. I do love Max though as well, but I prefer to be by myself on Monday to Friday because I think I got a better flow going. Anyway, now that I've rested my eyes a little bit, let's go back to the document. All right, so confirmed that the grandparents had to help Nick clean his house because he's too lazy. He was probably in the hot tub and while they were cleaning up. It's like Bossman Jack when he's doing his gamba sesh and Mum's trying to clean his room. And he's like, "Mom, get out of the house. I told you not to clean up the damn house, Mum. Give me my Dr. Pepper cans back." So let's see. The grandparents went through the house with the parents thoroughly to clean it out. Okay. Is that your understanding? I do not know they were part of cleaning up after the warrant was executed. I'm just thinking like imagine the look of disappointment on the parents' house as they clean up their kids' coke den and they're elderly, right? They're grandparents. They've got to go walk through that minefield, which is an actual danger of tripping and falling because there's so many blankets, clothing, and shit on the floor. That's like, how could you put your parents into such a dangerous situation, Nick? You rat. Let me see. Is that your understanding? I do not know they were part of the cleaning up after the warrant was executed. If and assuming that's true, that would strongly suggest, at least at the time, no drugs present in the house. Yes. However, I did not smell any bleach when I was in there. Oh yes, finally, this emoji that we very rarely get to use. You could members spam your bleach emojis. By the way, Nick can confirm with 100% certainty there's no cocaine in his house, but he doesn't know. He can confirm he has no bleach in his house because it would be dangerous to bring bleach into a house. But he doesn't know if there's cocaine in his house. Very interesting how that works out. But she did not smell any bleach when I was in there. And that would be a component of wiping every surface down with bleach as far as walls, countertops. All right, one moment. Besides the CUA, drug testing, safety plan, is there anything else that you need before you're in a position to recommend the children, the grandparents, being able to move into the parents' home and or the children being able to return home without grandparents? We would need, if the grandparents were to move into the residence of the children, with the children's without Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta in the home, we would need to also come up with a plan for how their access to the home would be restricted. Therefore, their access wouldn't be unsupervised. All right. I am talking about the situation where parents have continual access, but effectively under the direct supervision of grandparents. Is there anything else that you would need in place that you haven't already said? We would need to know, like I said, how the arrangements would take place with grandparents are unable to provide that supervised contact. Right now, the children are living 24/7 with the grandparents. Yes. And the uncle is giving respite. No. Where are the two youngest children right now? So what's happening here, I'll just give a bit of a thing, is that the three eldest, if you're just joining us sort of thing, the three eldest kids are in the courtroom. Both set of grandparents are in Nick's dad, and I believe Kayla's mum and father in the courtroom. So there is two kids that aren't there. And it's like, well, the question is, where are those if the grandparents are the full-time caregivers? And the suggestion is the uncle. But the larger part of this conversation is, if the grandparents are supervising the children, surely the grandparents could just move into the Rekieta's home. And then they could live together as 3 generations, one big happy family. And then the Child Protection Service is saying, how would we know that the grandparents weren't just leaving the house and then leaving the children unsupervised to the extent that they're actually just with Nick and Kayla? And that's what they're trying to work out at this point of the document. Let me see. So where are the children right now? They are with the care of another family member. Any reason that when the grandparents leave, if they would need to leave the residence without parents still there, that they couldn't just take the kids with them or get the uncle involved to assist? Yes, but when the grandparents sleep, they're not able to supervise. Okay, is there anything else that you need in place before grandparents can move in? If that's where we go and or the kids move back home. Actually, you know what? I'll talk about this for a minute. So, but when the grandparents sleep, they're not able to supervise. This seems like a silly thing to say, right? Like, you might think this is a silly statement because, of course, like all parents, when they sleep, they can't supervise their kids. But the reason that this is important is that the parents are dangerous. They can't be trusted to be around the kids without supervision. So it's not that the kids are unsupervised when the grandparents are asleep. It's that potentially the Nick and Kayla are there when the grandparents are asleep. That's the issue with this question and what makes it significant. Okay. Is there anything else that would you need in place before grandparents can move in? If that's where we go, or if the kids move back home, I would have to do a further consultation with the agency. That would be all that I would be aware of at this time without consulting with the agency further regarding that. Mrs. Greiner, I don't have any other questions. All right. Then, Miss Pierce, any follow-up questions? And Mr. Pierce says, does Miss... wait, sorry, just a second. Did I miss a part of that? Let me just undo that. Let me see. Does Miss... No, it says does Miss, right? Does Miss... Okay, does Miss... Oh, okay, it's up here. It's almost impossible to read, though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this says. But the court says pardon. Oh, she's already passed. Okay. Okay, so I guess it was just a nothing statement then. Anyway, Miss redirect examination. I just want to clarify a couple of things with you. So, any idea where Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta would move to if they were not in their own home? They have not stated. I know they own a second residence. So, in theory, the grandparents could move into the Nick and Kayla's house, and then Nick and Kayla could move out, and then they could live at their home, but it wouldn't be dangerous. But then where are Nick and Kayla going to go? They have not stated, but I know they own a second residence. I've been given conflicting information on that. I believe, according to GIS, it is the same property as the family home. I believe it's next door, but maybe there's a couple of trees between them or something like that. But it's Nick's second house. That's where April lives, even though she's at their house 24/7. They kicked out a family that was there before, and now she's just there so she can be 24/7 lady in waiting, or sister wife, or whatever you want to call her. Right, let me see. I believe, according to GIS, it is on the same property as the family home. And has anyone been able to look at that home to see if it would be safe? No. Now, Miss Greiner kept talking about consistent urine analyses. Does the agency before they would look to family supervision. Want demonstrated sobriety? Yes. What is demonstrated sobriety? We had asked for identifying what someone would look like under the influence, what they would look like under the influence if they were using cocaine or any other non-prescribed substance, as well as 60 days of negative drug tests. So when you remember, you hear Nick saying that the kids are going to be back in 2 weeks, it's been about 60 days. So this is what he's referring to. Nick is very confident that either A, after 60 days, the kids will go back to his house, because they typically do just automatically send the kids back unless it's a confirmed death trap. So it's pretty likely. But also, I believe that's around the time of the omnibus hearing, and I'm pretty sure he's assuming that he's going to dismiss the warrant and then have everything else thrown out as a result. So even if the child does have a positive cocaine test, if the warrant was unlawfully acquired, then that's all fruit of the poison tree, and it gets thrown up. And in the government's eyes, he's a good boy who didn't do nothing. Even though that doesn't make him innocent, it just makes him not guilty. That's just the way the law works. But Nick's pretty confident. 2 more weeks. Trust the plan. Let me see. And then you did see a drug test that the parents took yesterday. Is that correct? Correct. Is that the final confirmation? It does not look to be so. There is no quantitative levels on that. It's just a positive or a negative. What is your understanding of the urine analysis process? The urine analysis process, typically they do a quick test at Minnesota monitoring, which will come, show a negative or a positive. If it is positive, then it'll be sent off to the lab and further confirmation of what the level is. And if that level is at the threshold over the cutoff. So hypothetically, you could take a test, and if you're having a little bit of alcohol as a treat, it wouldn't show up. So, but it would be recorded as a negative. So that's why she wants to see the numbers instead, and is not very happy with this piss test. And you can trick piss tests pretty easily if you drink enough water and you have enough time to prepare for it, right? And again, they weren't able to confirm that it was negative of alcohol for the previous test. That goes earlier in the document. Where were we? There has been a lot of talk about whether Minnesota monitoring, is it? No, wait. No, sorry. Minnesota Health Services has any evidence that Mr. Rekieta is a drug user. Okay, so this is Nick's argument. You can't prove he's a drug user. Okay? He might have had 26 grams of cocaine. He might have been high on stream every day. He might have had all this shit. And he may have taken a positive hair follicle test proving he's using drugs. But you're not allowed that hair follicle test. So how can you prove he's a drug user? What is the agency's concern? Our concern is that the children were found to be living in an environment where there were drugs and drug paraphernalia found that they could access, as well as in their residence. And our concern is that the children had access to those substances. If the grandparents were able to move into the Rekieta's home, what would that present any type of licensing issue? Yes. What type of issue? The foster home cannot, the licensed foster home cannot be the home in which the children were removed from. So the grandparents were apparently registered foster parents for like a long time, but maybe their license lapsed or something. But you can't be licensed. You can't move into a house, or you can't have the license from the same residence as the children were taken from. So if they move into the house officially, they can't get their license back, and then they can't be official foster home parents. And what impact does licensing issue have on placement? It would mean that the home could not be licensed. Therefore, people residing in that home would not be able to get licensed, and the children could not be placed with them. Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you. All right. Any brief follow-up? Mrs. Barber? No, Your Honor. Thank you. Mrs. Weber? Yes. Recross examination. Here we go. Mrs. Sweep. Sweep it up. Sweep it up, Janice. What protocol? Cleansing protocol. Oh no. Mrs. Sweep is really about to cleanse everything. Look, it's the final solution to cleaning Nick's house. She's got the cleansing. Actually, it says cleaning protocol, but I just saw cleansing. I guess it's a Freudian slip. But sweep, it's too perfect. I don't know. It's confirmed simulation, meme magic, whatever you want to call it. Mrs. Sweep, what protocol, cleaning protocol, have you given the Rekietas as far as the bleach and whatnot? Let's see those bleachers in the chat. Holy water, that's not strong enough. I have not given the Rekietas any protocol at this time. Part of that is because of the fact that every time I've tried to address even what substances there were, they have said that they won't even discuss that, and that they don't necessarily believe it was even in their home. They don't believe it was even in their home. We didn't do no drugs. Could you prove there was drugs in my house, even though you took out an 8-ball of, like, what the fuck? You, like, was it like an ounce or something? Oh, Jesus. This is a stone cold defense. Like, holy shit. This is like checkmate, atheist prosecutors. Prove that I'm a druggie. All right. All right. We see the thing is, Nick isn't actually being charged with drug use. He's being charged with drug possession. So, but the thing is, there's the criminal case, which is for the possession. And then there's the child case, which is to get the kids back. And I don't know. It's not looking too good, from my opinion. Checkmate, logs. Exactly. Exactly. The Barnes defense. Yeah. Better call Barnes. Let me see. Well, as Mr. Greiner pointed out, they are facing criminal charges. You understand that, correct? And so, do you blame them for needing to be very careful about what you tell them? Are you asking my opinion? Well, are you blaming them? Are you somehow throwing them, quote unquote, under the bus because they aren't being honest as you would like? Government conspiracy confirmed. Alicia Sweep is just a Karen. Throwing them under the bus. Oh my goodness. Alicia says, I cannot state somebody's cooperation level. Oh, sorry, I can state someone's cooperation level. Okay. And if they are compliant with the questions being asked. But if your questions that they are asking could potentially implicate or worsen their situation in their criminal case, you don't, that's not an issue for you? I didn't say it was an issue. I've worked around that many times with people that I've worked with. Okay, so why have you not provided them with even a sheet of paper that says, here's what you need to do to remediate the home so that the agency are happy? I would want to walk through there and let them know what surfaces to clean, how to clean each surface. I have not been able to walk through the home, even though Nick says he begged them to come into the home and walk through every room before he blocked the master bedroom door and said, you don't need to see in here. He's probably just trying to hide his puppy, right? Like hashtag save Sunny or hashtag SS for short. Because like he wants to keep that pupper all to himself in the master bedroom. Well, in the master bedroom's bathroom where Sunny is forever imprisoned in the house. I understand that you did have you stopped by the home. You weren't able to get into the master bedroom, correct? Correct. And if the Rekietas follow you through the home, would that alleviate some of your concerns or allow you through the home? It would mean that I could provide them with a list of how to clean each surface. Okay. And you understand that when you showed up at that time, they were actually on their way to go post bond? I do. And at that time, and that time was an issue. Time was an issue. This is the stupidest fucking argument. So if you were following from the beginning of the stream, Nick took Alicia to his master bedroom to show him his art piece called the 22 or whatever it was, where the spent 22 gun shell fell off it or something and was on the floor. So Nick had time to show him their art collection, but they're actually really busy because they've got to go post the bond. There's just no time for her to have a look inside the master bedroom, but there's enough time to do his art tour. Okay. Makes sense to me. Correct. To which I told Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta to let me know they wanted to sought their counsel before talking with me. They have stated, and I could and I told them I could come back to the home. We could meet at the agency before court or meet here before court. After that court hearing, they had stated they wanted their personal counsel to be at all meetings. So I have not been able to coordinate a meeting in their home with their counsel. Have not been able to coordinate. Oh, shit. Need to get my drawing tablet back. Drawing tablets are so much nicer than mice. Or mice. Time? There's always time for art. Yes. So this is one of the things is that Nick keeps saying that he's doing everything in his power to get his kids back, but he's not releasing the hair follicle test. He's not showing the master bedroom. And I would argue that he is trying to make it as difficult as possible for them to actually come back to his house and inspect it. If you recall, Nick and Kayla have separate representation, which means that if Alicia Sweep has to be there with both of their attorneys present, they have to drive all the way out in bumfuck Minnesota, I guess on their lawyer's dime, to coordinate a special meeting so they can walk through the house that he refuses to even show them the master bedroom for, because there's no time. There's no time. It's just plainly obvious to see that he's being as difficult as possible because he's upset. Okay, and so you haven't gotten any voicemails from the Rekietas? Oh no, Alicia Sweep, is she about to get a phone call, a shower call? Oh, I have received one voicemail. No, I take that back. Oh, I thought there was a literal shower call going to happen here. There's already been one with Null. I was hoping for a second one. Maybe two, to which I responded. The one is that responded or recorded? I think it's responded. Oh no, sorry, received. The one I received yesterday requesting the release to Minnesota monitoring, as well as from Mr. Rekieta, as well as his request for the release of information that he signed for the county attorney's office. I did not, because by that time I had received that voicemail or listened to that voicemail. I had already distributed that to the county's attorney's office and received the email from both you and Mr. Mueller requesting that. As far as the second residence, I think Mrs. Pierce had asked you whether you had the chance to go through that home, correct? Correct. And have you? You have not. I have not. And so, if you were able to do a walkthrough of that residence, maybe physically see for yourself exactly how far these homes are from each other, would that help with alleviate any concern the agency has? I would have to take that back to the agency and consult with an agency. But how far apart do these residents need to be? I cannot speak to. I, again, would need to consult with my agency on what the agency's stance would be. Are you afraid that somehow they're going to sneak back? Ooh, sneak back into the house. I mean, that's exactly what I think that they're going to do. If they have two houses that are a little short walk apart, that are literal neighbors, even if it is in the country and they're separated by a few trees, of course he's going to sneak back into the house. You have to be fucking stupid to think they're not going to do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. What is this? Meggle says with a $5 dose. Meme just turning in. Is this what the Star MN Public Records was covered? What the Star? Is this what MN Public Records you covered with you with Sheen or something? Sean, not Sheen. Yes, this is the admit deny hearing. I did talk about this with Sean, not Sheen. Sorry, my I always do that for some reason. Yeah, this is the same one. I'm going through it by myself. There are concerns that they would have access to the children unsupervised. Okay, and you have the oldest is how old? 16? 16, yeah. And what concerns do you have of him having visits with his parents unsupervised, or even supervised with the grandparents? There are visits that are supervised by the grandparents currently. Okay, and how about the unsupervised visits with the eldest and the parents? What concerns are there? Our concerns would be, again, just him being in the position where he would be unsafe or endangered as he was in the residence where he was unsafe. So, if they are in the second residence and you've gone through and you've deemed it safe, how would it be unsafe? With their parents? Objection. Speculative. Well, this is about safety. The court says I'll allow her to answer, but let's move on. Alrighty. Did you understand the question? No. Can you repeat it? Let me restate. Let me rephrase that. So you've seen... is that it? So we've seen talking... Oh, we've seen? So we've been... Sorry, we've been. It looks like an S. It looks like an S on my screen. But I think it must be been, right? So we've been talking about the parents possibly moving to this second residence, correct? Correct. Are there concerns of safety if the children can somehow make it make their way over to that residence unsupervised. Would that be accurate? There are also concerns that Mr. and Mrs. Rekieta would have access to that home unsupervised and have access to the children unsupervised. Okay. And if it were, and I'm speaking only of the eldest child, what safety concerns would there be if they were to go over to the second residence unsupervised and talk to his parents? I would say we would need to have a demonstrated sobriety at this point of the parents. Okay. To ensure that he is not being left with people who are actively using. Okay. Now, I have a theory. That all the booze and all the drugs that were not taken by the police were moved to the second house. Because if you have a second house and you have your second wife already living there and you have thousands of dollars of whiskey, you're not going to pour it down the drain. You're not going to give it to somebody else. You're going to go stash it in the second house, the trap house you have, right? Why would you not? Like, I don't think that Nick's going to part with his precious whiskey collection. Like, some of his bottles are very expensive, by the way. Like, he was routinely picking up a 200, 300, or even 400 bottle of whiskey a week for his stream. All of those finished, or are they half-drunk bottles? There's no chance. There's no chance he doesn't have it there. But they refuse to let him even into the master bedroom. It could just be in the master bedroom because they refuse to let Alicia sweep into there. And they have a whole second house. Towards your English lessons, shaking my head. Hey, look, this is pretty hard to read. It is very blurry in parts, right? And we've been going almost 2 hours. My voice is getting tired. But thank you. I will put that towards food. Anyway. Or actively under the influence. But you've no proof that either parent has used, right? You can't prove it. Where's your pictorial evidence? Prove I was on drugs. I have no proof that they used those substances found in their home. Okay, so you want them to disprove something that hasn't even been proven? Checkmate, atheist prosecutors again. I also have no proof that they haven't used. Ooh, nice clap back. Okay, but you want them to continue proving that they aren't using. If we were supplied a negative hair drug test, that would provide proof that the parents haven't used those substances. Oh, Alicia Sweep's very good, because there was a hair follicle test done on Nick and Kayla. They just refused to share it. All mine. You can't have it. So Nick is literally only submitted to the drug piss test that he can clean out his system with 24 hours or 48 hours of waiting and drinking a bit of water. But no, he's doing everything to get his kids back. He's doing everything to get the kids back. And he's never done any drugs and he's never told any lies. But he refuses to share the test or let them into the bedroom. Interesting. Let me see. So that would prove the parents haven't used. Mrs. Weber says, that's all the questions I have. All right, Mr. Mueller. Thanks, Your Honor. Recross examination. Mrs. Sweep, you stated earlier that with regards to Mr. Rekieta's drug use, your main concern was that there were drugs and drug paraphernalia in the home to which the children could have access. Correct? And that the parents would be using those drugs. Yes. So you've alleviated that concern, haven't we? Didn't they take all the drugs and drug paraphernalia out of the house? They did. The parents have access to that house. Have had access to that house since the drugs were removed. And what is this? I can't see what this one is. And you're concerned, I believe. And you're concerned that there's drugs or drug paraphernalia back in the home. I don't have proof that there's not. Okay. And then, with regards to the cleaning, you're not suggesting that we have environmental testing for contamination, are you? No. So environmental contamination testing is pretty good when you've got like meth cases. But I'm not sure for cocaine what they would have, unless they were literally making crack cocaine, which there is some slight evidence to suggest they could be. You probably wouldn't get that much contamination just on surfaces where they were sniffing it up from, right? But there was a dirty pan, I believe, that was found with coke. And that is where the crack cocaine huffing allegations are coming from now, but there's not really any evidence of that just yet. You never know what is going to come up in the future. Mr. Mueller says, thank you. That's all I have. Mrs. Greiner, briefly, recross examination. Mrs. Schweep, you said the grandparents couldn't be placed, or the children couldn't be placed with the parents, with the grandparents as being the foster care. They could be placed back with the parents and grandparents being on site, not in their any capacity to be foster care providers, but rather just to be grandparents supervising, which, as a practical matter, would have the same effect. Do you agree with this? I would agree that's a possibility. I don't believe that the agency could support that at this time. Well, it sounds like there's really no situation or circumstances that the agency would support the grandparents being in the home at that time. We're getting pretty close to the end, actually. The children being in that home at that time. I guess that was just written twice by the stenographer. The court says, is that a question, Mr. Greiner? Or is that a statement? Yes. Refuses to elaborate. No. He says, a question? Actually, it wasn't. Well, it was. It was a statement, but in the form of, I can put it in a question mark at the end of it. Mrs. Schweep took it as a question. Then I meant, if she took it as a question, then I meant it as a question. I don't have any other questions or statements. The court says, all right. Examination by the court. Mrs. Sweep, I have one question. I would just want to clarify. So the parents have revoked releases. Is that right? Yes. All the releases to the agency and to Minnesota Monitoring, right? They have revoked the release at Minnesota Monitoring. The revocation states that they revoke their release of their information to Kandiyohi County Health Services, any entity associated with Kandiyohi County Health Services, any staff, as well as Mrs. Pierce and the county's attorney officers. All right, thank you. You may step down. And that is there we go, to be continued, I suppose. So this document continued. There we go. There we go. I believe we're missing part of this document, unless this was just the only person that was actually on the stand was Miss Alicia Sweep. It doesn't seem like it is, because I believe that Minnesota Health Services, Minnesota Public Records said that there is to be continued. I'll go over that in a second. Excuma says, I've noticed you having more problems than usual to read English text. Is there some slight slurring here and there? Is there something you want to share with the class? It's not my reading ability. It's the document. It's blurry. It's blurry, lads. Come on now. Oh, my goodness. But thank you for the 10. Well, the green, I guess it's a yellow boy. So that's probably like a 20, actually. Thank you very much. Yes. Minnesota Public Records has got a big stack of documents. This is a big one. This was a big one. Maybe they just didn't want to make too much at once. And they're ready to drop documents anytime Nick goes streaming, it would seem. I wonder if they cut it off strategically and it's about to get much spicier as they get more people on. It's not me, I swear. Oh, you guys caught me. You guys caught me. You guys caught me. Where's the Baldo, Josh? I don't know. I assume that it's on the floor somewhere in their trash piles. But you're right. I should be good at reading blurry and pixelated text since I live in Japan, and everybody knows that everything is blurred in Japan. So I should be an expert at reading it, but I am not. So I apologize. Caught in 144p. That's a good one. That's a really fun. This is a severely underrated chat. It's severely underrated. But I'm doing my best. Sometimes the documents are good, sometimes they're not. And sometimes we get better copies of the documents once we have the case file number. It's a little bit of a random bag. So let me go through my notes here. Let me see if we've got anything else interesting. Let me see. So we talked about the 60-day drug testing. Yes. So let's see. Okay. So to cut this all short, like if you've just missed the first half of the stream. Oh, wait, what is this? Hold on. I'll read these private ones. Let me see. See if there's anything relevant. Sometimes people send me information as we go through the stream, and I'm just checking to see if any of my fellow rat bros are helping me out. But it looks like I'm on my own tonight. Okay. Alrighty. Unless there's any new information being posted. All right. So to sum things up, to sum up what Minnesota Public Records said, they said the highlights of this were much like when Nick revealed, much like when Nick much as when Nick revealed in thumbing his nose at the church by there. This is not me. This is my notes. They're badly written, but I copy and pasted them from the farm. So point one. Nick stuck up his nose by bringing his sister wife April to the courtroom. The maternal grandparents are generally understood to have been the only caregivers, but it turns out that the youngest two children were actually in the care of another family member, the uncle, giving respite for the unspecified intervals. That did make sense. Well, there's 5 kids, right? It's pretty tricky, especially if you're old people. For once, there was a brief glimpse of conscience and contrition by Kayla when she tearfully hugged her eldest son in the hallway and said, "These are the consequences for our actions. Will Nick ever acknowledge the same?" This is a really bad thing to have in the record. Kayla actually admitting to guilt. Essentially, they could be argued there. Let me see. On a lighter note, finally, we get the comical details about the May 21st visit, site refusal, and access to the master bedroom, where Nick allegedly shut the door in Swoop's face, saying, "You don't need to come in here," because he was only going in there briefly to grab whatever art piece he would surely explain away the loose bullet found near his firearm, and what or who was in there to hide. That's a good question. Maybe April was in the master bedroom. Maybe they did clean the master bedroom, and they just had April up there, and they just like, "Oh shit, we forgot to tell our mistress to leave while we getting inspected for being bad boys." What else do we have here? Nick can't resist the chance to hear his own voice as he shouts objection in court, which is actually improper for him since he's not representing himself. And yeah, I think everything we've gone over there. So it looks like I covered everything. Good stuff. What is this? More silly emails that I don't need. So I think that is the part 1. We'll call this part 1, as next time Nick goes live, there should be the second half of this document, or who can say, right? We'll have to wait and see. Now, let me just give a quick check of things. Actually, I'll hang on with the chat for a little bit. Let's see what people are saying. So let me know what you're feeling at the moment, and your opinions of the case. On my vote for when the kids are coming back, 18% said 2 more weeks, trust the plan. 24% said soon, TM. 43% said 1 year or never, and 15% liked the stream. And that was 1,000 votes. Much appreciated. Whew, these long documents are hard to get through. Get Sean Martin on? You mean potentially Sean? I was on his stream. I talked about it a bit earlier, but I think for document streams, unless I have specific questions, I kind of like doing it by myself. Because then I can go at my own pace and I can go on as many tangents as I want. If I have like specific legal questions, I might put them in a big folder and then just come back to them when I have like a bit of a roundup or something. Might be a good idea. I'm kind of expecting that there's going to be some additional streams on this topic this week, because I'm pretty sure the second half of this document is going to come out in the next 2 or 3 days. For people asking about the body cam footage, I did a stream specifically going over that, but there was one thing that happened in that stream you might not have seen, and that was that someone was getting impatient with the body cam footage not coming out, so they did actually email them. This is someone unaffiliated with the Kiwi Farms, I believe. They sent a document out saying to Miss Coleman of the county, I guess, "Can you tell me if the footage is still a part of an active investigation, and if you know of an estimate and when it is getting released? I know several people who have been working on it, and someone had to get the money ready and possibly paid, but wasn't sure about the current status. Thank you, have a great day." And the state responded to her, I guess her name is Evie, "There has been no release of the body cam footage due to the case being active." And that was one of the questions that I had in my actual stream about whether this is considered active or not. And it may be that it's considered active because they're going back for April. And there has been some conspiracy theories, but not really conspiracy theories, more like conspiracy facts, that because April's not playing ball, that's why the charges are coming back for her. Because when she was basically let go, she was essentially absolved and the charges were dropped against her. And I think the police assumed that she was going to be very cooperative and say, like, hey, look, I was just trying to get high. I didn't want to do this. I'll tell you everything you want. But when it turns out that she's just living with him and she's actually just in this throuple situation and she's not giving them shit, and probably by design, Nick is keeping her around so that she doesn't drop the deets on him. They decided to say, like, you know what? If you're going to be like this, then we're going to bring you back. We're going to bring you back into the case. And you're going to be on trial for possession, use, or whatever. And possibly child endangerment as well. They also have Aaron who's snitching as well. So who can say if they need them or not? And yeah, it is very weird sister wife cult shit, in my opinion. Right, now, I promised some weeb shit at the end. So on Saturday, so it was actually this. It was the day before this came out because I'm a day ahead. I went to the cosplay festival. Yes, that's right, weebs. I went to the cosplay festival, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of fun. But let me show you what you can look. I'm going to put this. If this video is finished processing and there's no copyright claims, I had to edit out a bunch of songs. But look at this. Look at what you can expect. You've got Sailor Moon. You've got, I don't know who that is. You've got literal rapist Hypno chasing and making Angel Woman cry. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. This dude was going up and using his metronome hypnosis attack on women, and Angel Woman was crying because of him. Did you dress up as a train? Yes, I did. There's some of this VTuber shit for you weirdos that like that stuff, right? Is this a shark girl? I don't know. Well, I need to call Legal Mindset to give me the VTuber situation on this chick. I don't know. There's that. I get Hatsune Miku. You've got Snake in a cardboard box. You've got, like, I don't know, this chick. You've got all kinds of people. You got, actually, this chick was really cool. So she's an original Godzilla create. She's like sexy Godzilla. And there was also a sexy Mothra walking around as well, which is kind of funny. But it's just like a Japanese walkie video, you know, where you go around, you see some funny stuff, and if you are so interested in that, I will link this currently unlisted video, but I'll publish it on my other channel in about 30 minutes, as provided it's free of copyright stuff. But if you want a sneak peek at all these weebs, and like I said, it was 37 degrees Celsius during this day. You can get a look at it. There's a lot of weird shit you can have a bit of a chuckle at. There was a lot of a lot of lewd posing, I would suppose you would call it. I mean, you can judge for yourself. This is the reality of cosplay in Japan. It's not as lewd as the Osaka one, but unfortunately I missed that one. But I will get the next one because it happens 3 times a year. There was like, this chick was like literally flashing photographers, and there's a weird thing that I'd never seen. Like, the photographers were just like lining up. See, like she like lifts up her skirt, and then the photographers come down and do like the low angle shots. This is what Japan is like. But yeah, there's like this line of photographers here. They're all just like lining up to like get their chance. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that shit. That's like takes way too much time. But it was a bit of a fun little walk and a little bit of an adventure to Nagoya, which is a city that I don't know much about. And yeah, the SpongeBob was there too. Oh wait, I think Max Mirror was there too. Hold on, did I get the picture of Max Mirror? No, I think I took a photo of that in a different one. Where's SpongeBob? SpongeBob was dead though. There was like a little dead SpongeBob. Oh wait, I have it in the Discord actually. Hold on, I'll show you. I have it in the. Let me see. There was this guy too. There was like this black guy, this buff black guy who was walking around in a maid costume and a hat that says "Make America Great Again." He was actually pretty funny. He was pretty funny. So there was that. I know I've been accused of being a turbo weeb by people, so I may as well just lean into it. Which is not true though. I'm actually not that much of a weeb. But I thought it was a good opportunity to film something. Here it is. I found Max Mirror. There he is. Look at this. Actual Max Mirror on the scene. Actual Max Mirror taking photos in Nagoya. So I will link this video in the chat. If you want to get those first comments in, because like I said, it's unlisted currently, you can do that. I'll link that to you, and then I'll say goodbye, and I'll go to bed, and I'll be back probably tomorrow. What would you say was the most cosplayed series there? There was a lot of Final Fantasy. There was a lot of Final Fantasy characters. There was a lot of Sailor Moons. I'm not sure if there was anything that really stood out as being like the most popular. There was a couple really like niche ones and some interesting ones. Where was there was a really cool one actually. Let me show you this. There was this like Gundam one. Like this guy had this whole Gundam suit. That was really cool. Like he just had this like massive Gundam like thing. He was just like walking around and like using his swords and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And oh, you can see like the Maho Dokuro. So like when J.K. Rowling decided to write the Harry Potter of Japan, she just looked up the word for witch and place. So that's what the Japanese Harry Potter school's called, Maho Dokuro. It's it's pretty cringe. And Japanese people are a little bit upset about it, but they've got a shop for it there. So I thought that was kind of funny as well. I didn't know that was in Nagoya. This one was pretty cool. There was like a big suit of armor over the back there. A lot of sweaty people though, because like I said, it was fucking murder. Oh, actually, this is my favorite one. My favorite one was probably this guy that was dressed up as like Mimichu, like the creepy Pikachu. That was pretty cool. We go back. See, he's just like walking around as creepy Pikachu. So I thought that was pretty cool. And what else was there? Let me think if there's anything that really stood out. To be honest, it was so hot and miserable that I was just like, oh shit, I want to film this and get back to my nice house. There was also a very convincing Johnny Depp or Pirates of the Caribbean. But I think this guy only cosplays as Johnny Depp. Because like I see him all the time. Anytime I go to anything that has like there it is. I thought that was a pretty good costume. Oh, but you know what? I know the most one. There was so many people in drag. That's probably the most common one. It was just drag. There was so many people trying to be kawaii waifus. But there was some good costumes as well. But you can judge for yourself, as I'll now leave the link to this video, this private video in the chat, exclusive for the next 5 minutes. Is it Mimikyu? I don't know. Maybe I got it wrong. Whatever. I'll share this out. Go watch this video if you so choose to. Watch cosplay here. There we go. The link is in the chat. If you want to get that first comment in, good luck. Good luck to you. And what is this? What is this, Max? Harry Potter series first had the Konketsu Oji half-breed prince for the Half-Blood Prince, but then they sanitized it to the Romaji, Mysterious Prince, or Roman no Oji, Mysterious Prince. Thought it said Romaji for a second. All right, there, guys. Peace out. Do I have something to play at the end of this? All right. Bye, guys. Bye, Rat Gang.
チーズ、ラッキー、さあゲットします。